Alright guys, day 1 and 2 of practice are done and over with. And this is how we're gonna start day 3 of practice. What do you think so far, Nick?
A lot of little ones.
Yeah. We may have figured out how to get a big bite. What?
Big ass lake. Cool lake.
It's Guntersville.
But I haven't figured him out yet. I'm just gonna follow Matt.
Waterfront?
The White House?
Right here.
Some would consider waterfront the White House.
That looks good. Kind of off the beaten path.
Zoom out. Towards the waterfront?
Next little creek down.
Oh. Alright.
I think. Wait.
It's not.
Oh no, it's not waterfront, is it?
I think it's further. The further down it is, the better.
No, that's not it either, actually.
Where you at, dude?
Where you at, dude?
No.
Maybe that is waterfront.
We don't know where we're going. Alright guys, well, we're going to do this video a little bit different than how I've done the last 2 videos for practice. The first day of practice was really just a day of me getting out on the lake, starting somewhere, basically anywhere. Where I started, I think it was Browns Creek. It was just a big wide creek, kind of offered a couple of different things. It had, a lot of deep water in it, a lot of shallow areas, a lot of different stuff that I could go sample stuff on. And that wasn't my best day of practice, just because one, I was kind of getting familiar with the lake, trying to see what baits they would bite, wouldn't bite. I was experimenting with a lot of different things, and then I finally got out of Browns and went to the main lake around noon. Didn't confirm things, but kind of just started seeing things appear, like the chatterbait bite on the secondary points. Even though I knew people would be getting on that stuff, and that's the primary thing. If you went and did your research, that just came up. 2 to 5 foot, surrounded by deep water, 2 to 5 foot hump, 2 to 5 feet of water. Just everything seemed to be centric around 2 to 5, 2 to 7 feet of water. So I knew when I was practicing that I wouldn't be alone. If I, any kind of spot like that I would have, I would be, actively competing against other people to try and get to those spots first and things like that. So, I knew that was a good deal to have, to kind of figure out a bait and a bite that I could just get bit on. But I didn't have what I considered something to get a big bite off of. I didn't feel confident about catching, more than 13, 14 pounds a day doing that pattern, because just fishing that way, I ran across a lot of just barely keepers, and occasionally I catch some 3-pounders, but it just didn't feel like that was going to be it. So going to day 2 of practice, I kind of started on that one grass line. I caught that one nice one flipping. Nice one on the chatterbait. I had essentially 4 bites on that one grass bed. And to me, I thought that was a lot better than what I'd found the day before. And I kind of already knew that I'd sat down on something, to what I thought was pretty special. It was stuff that I thought probably a lot of other people were going to find, honestly. But it was just a spot that had a lot of fish. Because I'd gotten 4 bites doing 4 fairly different things: the flipping in the grass, the chatterbait up shallow, the spook out over deep water, the chatterbait in the deeper water. Those deals just gave me confidence that there's a lot of fish in the area, and you could kind of cycle through baits and probably eventually catch a couple. As one thing kind of wore down, you could turn around and go back through and throw something different, probably pick a fish or 2 off. So. But when I ran up the lake and I pulled up on those docks, I went to fish. Where I first immediately sat down was this pocket right off the main lake. It was in the creek, but it was the first little pocket. And the docks were just super shallow. Like, you couldn't get under them. They're all choked out, too much grass. So I came out, went around, and that's when I skipped under that one big dock where I caught that 5 to 6 pound. I don't even know how big it was. I couldn't find my scale. It was just, I want to get the fish back in the water. But I skipped under it, but that fish was like right where it was supposed to be. Way up under the dock, but not too hard to get to. And it was, I don't want to use a word, but it was like, it seemed like easy. I'm like, man, anybody could have made that freaking cast. And it was already second day of practice, halfway through, so someone probably already thrown at that fish at one point. That's what I'm thinking, at least. But the fish was big, it was green, it was light colored, it was a big fish, but it looked like it knew where it was supposed to be. A fish that big doesn't get that big by accident. Like, you know, what I was thinking, if that big one's up there, there's gonna be other at least good ones up there, because this fish is up here for a reason. Like, it's not just a lost 6 pounder up under a dock. Like, it had the colors of like a main lake fish. Like, that fish was using that dock. I go 2 docks down, I skip the chatterbait under the walkway and catch like a 4.5 pounder. And I'm like, same thing. Fish looked really nice, healthy, good colors. I'm like, this fish kind of looks like he wants to, you know, like he's up here for a reason too. And I started skipping docks, and probably had like 2, maybe 3 or 4 more bites on like the next couple sets of docks. And I'm like, this is pretty good. And it seemed like you had to be down that first straightaway from off the lake, or like the first fourth of the creek. And, you know, you just see little things like that in practice where you're like, oh, you know, are they really the first third of the creek, or it just so happens to be the best docks, or in this part of the creek, or just the way the bottom lays out? And I really was able to see it all play out in practice and the tournament, because I'd go down a pocket right off the main lake. This is during practice and during the tournament. Come off the lake, and you're looking in the water. You see bait, you see little glass minnows, you know, smaller shad, medium shad. Every now and then you see these just big old gizzard shad swim by. And then you see little bluegills like up in the tall grass. You'd see, you know, pounder, 2 pounder, maybe even a 3 pounder swim by your boat. Or you're like, oh crap, there's a fish. There was activity, there was life. And you're like, oh wow, this looks really good. And then once you start going down that pocket, just like if I was fishing, you know, running and fishing my way back into a creek, and like the activity seemed to go down, when I would go into those main lake pockets, once I got to like the back third, it was like barren sea. There's nothing going on. It was really interesting, honestly, because, you know, you see that a time or two, you're not sure about it. You're like, you know, maybe there's a correlation, but maybe it just so happens. Who knows? And then by the third day of the tournament, I'm like, dude, this is like a deal. Like, well, I kind of had that idea on the first day, but by like the third day of the tournament, I'm like, I can tell for certain if you're fishing down a pocket and there's no bait, nothing, you don't see any fish, your bites went down 95%. Like, it was almost like too easy. Like, it was too simple. It's like, okay, there's fish here, there's bait here, I'm gonna get a bite here. Yes. It just, there was never like you're fishing around nothing, just nothing looks good, and then, or you're getting bit. That never happened. You had to be around the fish, the bait, and the activity. But to start day 3 of practice, I'm just out here in front of Goose Pond. I'm running down the lake, or I'm running out of Goose Pond towards the main lake, and I'm like, you know, it's so painfully obvious that you almost have to fish it. Like, I'm running down the lake, and you see this big giant grass mat. There's a channel going right through it. The main lake is right there. There's little creeks and ditches winding through it. It's like, I saw 4 people on this yesterday. I know I'm going to see people on it today, but whatever. Let's just go fishing there. Like, we have to at least fish the obvious stuff. So, you know, if we're in the area, there's no one there, or you need a quick bite, you know, whatever, just, or maybe you find the mother lode. You never know with a spot like that. with, you know, you do your research and it's like the mouth of the most historical creeks on the entire Lake Guntersville. It's like, okay, we're here in Goose Pond, big giant grass mat, main lake, channel, everything, all these ingredients. We got at least give it an hour. Start the morning here, whatever. And I did, and I missed that one that you'll see right here. Well, speaking of eyes burning, I went to go check something in my bilge. Ooh, there's a fish. Fuck it. Oh, I lost him. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, so what happened there is I'm on the phone with my girlfriend, and I'm going down and flipping this hydrilla, and I come up to this one part, and there's just these vines coming out of the grass, and I'm like, well, that's something different. I flip over there, and I had that bite, and I was like, I'm gonna shake it off. Nope, let me just crank down, reel up, and try and get a hook in this fish. And I think I had it for half a second and it came off. But the big thing with that is I had flipped a lot of grass up to this point between day 1, day 2, and day 3. And I've literally only had like 2 or 3 grass bites. And I'm not really pushing it, but I'm in this, you know, perfect area. I'm going down all this grass and there's just one vine sticking out, and I flip in the vine and I get a bite. I'm like, I need to keep that in the back of my head for the rest of the practice, because if I come up to another grass mat and there's that vine there, that could be the one spot where the fish is sitting, and there's not a fish sitting in the rest of the whole mat. Like, they just want to be in that little bit different stuff in that vine. So, you know, that was just, even though I knew that wouldn't be a thing there probably, it was because I'd already gone a while, not got a bite. I'm just like, I don't see much of this here. I don't, you know, this isn't going to be like, I pull up here, flip all the vines, and I'm gone. Like, no, I'm probably not going to get that bite ever again. Not there, at least. So I just keep going. Okay, so basically, after I saw the weather forecast for this day, obviously it's pretty cloudy right now, but it's still out. I was kind of nervous of that chatterbait bite going away on me, so I went ahead and got like a 4-inch Scottsboro tackle style swim bait and just put like a flashy swimmer in it. And I kind of was going to make that my chatterbait replacement, but this is one of the only fish I ended up catching on it. Just, you know, not trying to spoil anything, but just wasn't the deal like I thought it was. Alright guys, so what you're not going to see in this video is where I'm having some battery issues and I have to run 15 miles up north to crank my batteries, or to charge my batteries with PowerPole Charge. Just had some battery issues, had a battery go bad, and I replaced it, but in the process of it going bad, it drew the other batteries down. The night before this day, somehow my plug got unplugged from the wall, so my batteries never got charged. So I was pretty much running on 24 volts the whole day. I have a battery meter on my bow, on my Bascat. I hit it and it tells me the voltage, and it was like 26 or something. I'm like, that's not good. So I got to make this big run. I run all the way up to Mud Creek. I actually had like 3 or 4 bites in there. They didn't seem very big, but it was pretty much like dead on with what I'd kind of figured out up to this point. And after that, I kind of got tired of it. Everything else is pretty much just topped out grass and about 4 foot of water, but it was like that far topped out onto the surface. And to me, that's the most like hard to figure out, time consuming, intimidating stuff there is. So I just completely got out of the creek. I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and fish this stuff. And there's actually a lot of boats in there. I saw like 8 to 10 boats in that creek just fishing around. It looked good, but it was just so vast and so dense, and if you found fish one day, I could see them moving, you know, somewhere else the next. So I didn't want to be there. So basically I run down lake just north of BB Comer Bridge, obviously another big run to charge my batteries, and I had this one spot marked on my map. Just, you know, it was just a little string of islands south of BB Comer Bridge, and there's like this little kind of, I don't want to call it backwater deal, but just on the other side of the island where the bank was, it just looked really good. I pull up there, and you can't tell here in the video, but as I'm casting and just kind of firing around these docks in this little area, I'm just seeing these big gizzard shad swim everywhere, just all kinds of bait. Just definitely the most rich area I'd seen yet. I did a video with Zona, and he was up north catching males off of beds, like this time of year, not maybe this time of year, but like in September and shit. He goes, they get tricked. He said they get tricked, and they go up and down when it's like the right temperature, and they will like make the bed, but the females don't ever come. Yeah.
You know someone in the top 10 is gonna be like off the fucking wall, like at the back of, very back of a creek, like fucking.
Oh my God, Nick. Nick,
What?
the water is so clean. I just looked under a dock and I saw like 200 butters float out and go, no. that was so cool. I shook them off. I cut my hook off. Yeah, I don't have no choice. My hook's cut in half.
Oh, true.
I snipped it off this morning. It was like an old rusty jig that was sitting in my center console, just for like bank fishing. And then I saw it the other day. I'm like, I need to spruce this thing up. Fucking put a new weed guard in it. Fucking sanded all the rust off. I'm like, good to go. That's what I've been using.
Are you on the deep docks again?
No, I mean, the end of the docks maybe in 3/4 water.
Jesus.
It's not like how deep it is, it's just where it is in relation to everything.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it was in Sandy Cooper, like some docks are 1.5 foot, some docks are 3. I mean, some were 3, but it was just how it like lined up in relation to the needle. Oh my God, look at this one. Okay. You gotta get a bite here. Got to get a bite here. I'm talking. Oh, let's see. Let's see. Ooh, oh, hold on, babe. I just had one.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially because I'm doing my med pick with them, so maybe they'll just apply it for me or something.
Yeah, maybe.
There's people over there too. He was like, yeah, I'll just give everybody a call and have them move it, reschedule it, refund it. But I'll talk to him about it. We'll figure it out.
Oh shit. Hold on, babe. Dude, oh my God. You seriously gotta call me more. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Damn, I just.
There's two calls a day that you don't answer.
Well, that might be because I'm running or something, or I'm on the phone,
Oh
Nick.
yeah.
I just caught a 3.5 pounder
Nice.
on a spook. That was cool. Right on the damn contour line, like right where she's supposed to be. Here's like a little tidbit, guys. You don't see it in this video because the camera's off, but there was a mat blown up in the stalls of this little boathouse, and I flipped the 3/4 in and caught like, I don't know, like a 1.5 pounder. I thought it was really cool that I caught a fish under a dock, under a mat, but this would actually turn out to be like a little bit of a deal later on, but we'll get to that when the time comes. I've ran upriver, I've seen what I wanted to see. I caught that one fish under the boat dock, and at this point I'm back in the creek where I got all those dock bites. It's a fairly big creek, so I wanted to figure out, you know, does this creek just lay out perfect? So what I'm looking for is just more conducive to getting bit, or is it actually a better creek? So I start running towards the back. After this, I start running towards the back and I start fishing, you know, high spots and stuff with a lipless and a chatterbait and a spook, and I start getting bit. Yeah, my watch died. What were you saying?
I don't know what to do right now. Do I go fish for an hour?
Oh, that one.
On it. Just take it easy.
Hey, Nick.
Yeah.
I just caught one on the spook. No. There's some bait all up in this pocket though.
Oh no, that's good.
Oh, hello, bass. Oh my goodness. 3-pounder. Oh, there's one right next to me. Oh my god, what's going on? Oh my god, what's going on?
Really?
It's like a damn 3.5 on a trap.
Trap. I'll call you later when I get back on the water.
Alright. Okay guys, so I figured out that the dock deal is, you know, a lake-wide deal or a river-wide deal. Like, I can go other places and make that happen. So that really gave me like a good boost to my confidence that the jig on the docks was an actual deal, and it wasn't just kind of like a flash in the pan or just a, you know, something that just happened that day. And then for me to run back into that creek and just start running high spots and start getting bit like that, it gave me confidence that not only I was doing the right thing, but I was doing it in the right creek, because I've never had more bites in one creek than I did that afternoon, and the biggest bites I've had have been in that creek as well. So after this day of practice, I pretty much have it in my head that this is the creek that I'm going to want to fish in the tournament. And another quick deal before we go into day 4. If you notice, I was getting a lot of bites on the spook, and I was telling Nick, hey, I caught one on a spook, because he was throwing it in practice, and he was getting a lot of better fish to come up and blow up on the bait, but they wouldn't get hooked up. I caught a handful of the 3-pounders on it, 2.5, and those small ones you saw, but they were committing to the bait, and that's because I was really working it fast and keeping it going. And Nick said he was too, but for some reason they're missing his, and they're committing to mine. Maybe mine had a different color that they liked or something, but I did notice my spook bites were, you know, 4 out of 5 fish that bit would actually get hooked. So to me, I thought that'd be my back pocket deal for when I got calm. Because when you're around grass and fish are finicky, and it's really, really clear, sometimes the top water is like one of the only baits you can use to get them to bite. So pretty much out of my mind that chatterbait, if it's windy and cloudy, top water, I kind of ruled that swim bait out, and when the sun got up, start skipping docks. But that's at day 3 of practice. That's where I feel like my game plan's at, and we're just gonna kind of go through day 4 pretty quick. Well, last day of practice. We're just kind of idling out a waterfront right now, and it is big time foggy. But we're gonna fish anyways. We ain't gonna go out there and run. It's like impossible to run right now, but might as well go fish down the bank and see what happens, you know. So day 4, I go experiment with frogging the back pockets. Decided to come out of waterfront this day and turn right and start heading down the lake, just to see if, you know, I could find it was more mid-lake, if I could find stuff more mid-lake that can fit what I'm doing, or if I can just find something in general mid-lake, because at this point I pretty much know where I want to fish, what I want to do, but I'm just trying to find something off the wall or better, just because you know, that's just kind of how I practice. I'll go through practice, you try and figure out what the deal is that everyone's doing. Sometimes you figure it out, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you figure out how to catch smaller fish, or that's how you catch smaller fish, which in this instance, that's kind of what it was. The grass fish to me didn't seem, you know, very reliable. I knew I'd be fighting guys over it. So, but throughout practice and practicing that stuff, I was able to find spots where I could get bit doing that. So if I really had to, you know, end up doing that, I wouldn't feel too horrible. But I got that. I got the dock bite kind of figured out, or I just got it to at least where I could run down the lake, see something, sit down, and, you know, 50-50 it'd be a bite. And now I'm just trying to figure out, you know, a way to get individual big bite, or maybe I can get a single big bite in the back of this pocket, or maybe it's just a deal where I find a little pattern just running the backs of these pockets. But after this pocket, I really wouldn't do much more of this, and I just never got bit frogging these pockets, so kind of bailed on that. Guys, they don't make this crankbait anymore. I've been waiting years and years to actually pull it out and use it. I think the Toyota Championship, perfect time to break it out. Old Lucky Craft RC 1.5 DD silent copper green shad. It's Guntersville written all over it. a bite. The Seabold Creek. And that's cats. So it is what this is. Fishing. Maybe in for a good time. This is the way to go, I think, for a big bite. So guys, I just hooked one, lost it, felt like a good one, got me wrapped around the piling. I don't know, you know, the main lake grass line bite has not been the deal today, like it kind of has been the last few days. And chatterbait, trap, none of that stuff seems to get a bite now that the sun's out, so I'm really gonna try and double down on this dock deal. Just throwing a little mullet jig, just some random crawl trailer I had already had on it. But I really feel if I stick to this, it can work out. So that's it. That's practice. That is 4 days of practice. Fourth day I kind of cut it short. Just one, this video was taking a little long, and two, not much happened day 4. What you saw in that video was all that I got on day 4. I don't know if it was a part of the lake that I was in, if it was, I don't know what it was, but everything kind of, I still got signs from the couple of fish that I caught. I caught one on a spook that was schooling, but nevertheless it was a spook fish. The other fish that I caught on the high spot, on that crankbait, that was on a grass high spot. You know, still we're going along the same theme of the first 3 days of practice. High spots in the grass, it's gonna hold fish, not real big ones, but it's gonna hold them. And then I pull into Seabold Creek right towards the end of the day. I skip a jig. I start fishing the dock stalls, and I skip the jig under there, and I lose a pretty decent one. I just reeled down, and you saw me. I got me wrapped up in the dock. So, you know, but that confirms something else. If I needed to get a big bite, you better be fishing docks. And you can hear me talking to myself, like, yeah, you know, if you stick to this dock stuff, it'll probably work out. You just need to do it. And you know, that was my plan going into the first day of the tournament, which will be the next video. So guys, please like, please subscribe, and day 1 will be up in a couple days.